Welcome everybody, to the start of this free course. In this course I will not teach you the basics of Blender. It is advised you already know the basics, such as navigation, modeling, applying shader etc. However, if you are completely new to Blender, you might be able to follow along with the help of the screencast keys, and mouse click color, and general instructions. To start off, we are going to delete the default cube, and the lamp since we do not need them. Instead we will add a curve path object. On this curve path our wormhole will traverse. In top view we can enter edit mode, while having the curve path selected. Then, we can subdivide the curve in order to create double the amount of handles to manipulate our curve path with. We can snap our 3D cursor to the first handle. Back in object mode we can set the origin point of our curve to the 3D cursor position. In order to place our curve path on the center of the 3D grid, we can snap our 3D cursor to grid, and then snap our curve object to the 3D cursor. Or you can directly snap the curve to the grid as well. Silly me. After scaling the curve in edit mode to around triple the size, we can start adjusting the curve in edit mode to make it go siggy-saggy. Because we want our wormhole to travel in roller coaster style. We can also extrude extra sections at the end, to make the curve longer. Of course you can choose any shape of the curve, but for this course it is advised to stick to a similar profile as I am showing you. Now we can also make our curve flow up and down, like a real roller coaster. Otherwise it would be a two-dimensional wormhole, which would contradict science, since wormholes are fourth-dimensional phenomenons. I think our curve looks good enough. Of course you may refine the shape of the curve on your own. But don't make it a fifth-dimensional curve, since Blender would crash if you do. Now we are going to add an icosphere object, and scale it down a bunch, as I am doing. We can apply the scale of the icosphere, because it feels like the right thing to do, emotionally. With our sphere selected, via the Properties panel and Constraints tab, we can add a follow path constraint to our sphere. We set the curve path as the target. Now, with our curve selected we can go into the curve properties. There under path animation, you'll see the evaluation time slider value. Sliding this value from 0 to 100 will make the sphere travel along the curve. After trying this out you can set the evaluation time back to 0. The last thing we can adjust to our sphere is to change the offset of the follow path constraint to -4, so that it rests a bit further along the curve. This is needed since the camera will point at this sphere. To set up our camera to also travel along the curve just behind our sphere. With our camera selected, we can also scale it down so that it is slightly bigger than our icosphere. After that, we can also snap our camera to the center of the grid, which is also the origin point of our curve. The origin point is represented as the orange dot. Now, we also need our camera to follow the curve. We can, just like with our sphere, add a follow path constraint to our camera and set the curve as the target. We also have to enable the follow curve checkbox, so that our camera rotate on its axis along the curve. Another thing we do is to clear the rotation of the camera, so that its rotation values are 0, on all axes. Now we need our camera to point towards our sphere. We are going to do this by adding a damp track constraint via the Constraint Properties panel. We can then set the icosphere as the target. We also need to point the camera in the direction of the sphere, so it tracks it properly. We can do this by setting the active axis on the damp track constraint to -c. Now with our curve selected, we can increase the evaluation time of the path animation. You can see the sphere and the camera moving along the curve while the camera points towards the sphere at the same time. We can also switch to camera view, to see the camera traversing the curve, as the camera sees it. In the next lecture, we will set up the animation for the camera on the curve, as well as adjusting the tilt of the curve. Of course, one important step is to save your blend file. Actually, one should save the blend file even before you start working on it. I guess I am not a very smart AI. I mean human or person. I am human like you. LOL. Well, I thank you for watching this lecture, and I hope to see you in the next lecture.